Hello everyone, thanks for joining me today to make some fun crafts of underwater creatures. We are going to start by making this fun little squid. This is what the finished product looks like, these little eyes and its little tentacles. So we are going to start by taking a piece of paper. You can use construction paper, cardstock, computer paper, basically any paper you have available to you. The measurements are not exact. This is about how big you want it. You want to start with a rectangle. I think it's about 6 inches by like 4 inches. But again, I didn't measure. I'm also not the best at cutting straight lines, so my squares and rectangles are always a little crooked, but that's okay. Doesn't need to be perfect. So you want to start with a rectangle, and you also want to start with a square. I use the same color paper for both of mine. You can use different colors if you want. If you use plain white paper, you can color all of this and make him a really funky color. So you need a rectangle and you need a square. This square is about 2 inches by 2 inches. I don't even think it's a square. It's probably closer to a rectangle. Again, I am not the best at cutting straight. It doesn't need to be perfect. So you're going to start with your square. And what we're going to do is round 3 of the corners to make the kind of head for this guy. So you are going to take 3 corners like this, and you're going to kind of cut around them to round them off. So it doesn't matter which 3 corners, but you're going to take 3 of them and make them kind of round like that. And then you see you kind of end up with this shape. Now, with the 4th corner of the square, you're actually going to cut it right off and kind of make a flat bottom to it. Again, not exact. I'm just kind of seeing what happens, eyeballing it there. So you can get rid of your scraps, and that's going to be the head of your squid. Now, on your rectangle, you are going to want to draw the squid a little face. So it's going to be close to the bottom of your rectangle. His eyeballs aren't real far up. You can make the face any way you want. If you want to put it in the middle of the rectangle, that's totally fine. I'm going to draw eyeballs right close to the bottom. I'm using a black permanent marker. If you have colored pencils, you can use that. If you have crayons, you can use that. No big deal. Anything you have available to you. And then I'm going to give him a little smile. So there's my squid face. All right. So once you have your face drawn on your squid, you have him decorated the way you want, you are going to cut holes in the bottom for where the tentacles will go. So I am using a knitting needle. I found this works pretty well when you're cutting holes. I don't have real small precise scissors, so I find them kind of hard to use. If you have scissors, that's great. If you have a hole puncher, that's ideal. I don't have a hole puncher. Anytime you're cutting holes in paper, be very, very careful. Even though this knitting needle is kind of dull, it can still hurt and it can still kind of poke holes that I don't really want. So I'm doing this really carefully and really slowly. This is actually cardstock I'm working with, so it's kind of hard to punch the holes through. You can punch as many holes as you want. Just make sure that they're not too close to the bottom so that they rip through, and that they're not too close together either. But again, if you want your squid to have a ton of tentacles, make as many holes as you'd like. So we're doing a few here. Again, this is kind of hard to poke through. So I did 4 holes for my squid. They're not super pretty, but they'll get the job done. So there are my holes. Now in these holes, you want to string some fun string. I happen to have some really cool yarn that I'm working with. If you have regular string, that's totally fine. Friendship bracelet string works. So I take a piece of string and then kind of fold it in half. And where this end is, this folded end, I string that through one of the holes. And then these 2 ends of your string that aren't together, you're going to loop through this hole. So you're not actually tying a knot, you're just kind of looping it through like that. So there we go. All right, so you're going to do that with all of your strings. So we're going to loop them through like so. Again, I only cut 4 pieces of string. The length really doesn't matter. You can, I think these pieces are maybe close to like 10 inches long, making the squid's tentacles about 5 inches since you're doubling them up. And again, this can be kind of tricky. But it doesn't matter. If you want the guy, your squid guy, to have really long tentacles, you can absolutely do that. So one more to go. We're gonna string this guy through. All right, now my squid has tentacles. So fun. So once you have the tentacles on, you are going to roll your paper up into a tube shape, kind of like that. Now I'm working with hot glue. I was able to find my hot glue gun. Woohoo! If you have Elmer's glue, that's fine. If you have a glue stick, that works. This is what I happen to have. If you are using a hot glue gun, be very, very careful. These get super hot, hence the name hot glue. And the glue on them is very sticky. So just be careful. Make sure you're getting a parent's help. If you are afraid you might hurt yourself or burn yourself, you can definitely have help from mom or dad or someone who's hanging out with you for the day. So once you have your glue on, you're gonna turn that guy around and stick it so you're making a tube. So there we go. We're almost done. All right, so this is the tube, your squid without his little head. So what we're going to do next to put our square that we cut the corners off and to give him his little head like that, we are going to make a little tiny cut in either side of the tube. So not very far down at all on one side, and then another cut on the other side. And then you're gonna take the square that you cut the corners off and you're gonna slide it right in like that. So there you go.